Population ecology. First, we are going to learn some important terms related to this. Abiotic, the non-living components such as water, light, temperature, etc. present in the environment. Then estivation, it is the adaptation of certain animals in which they become dormant during summer or drought. Autecology, it is the study of ecology of single individual species. Clumping distribution. Clumping distribution, it is also known as clustered or aggregated distribution in which individuals congregate in groups with some scattered individuals outside the group. Dispersal, it is the movement of individuals or their dissemules into or out of the area. And then dispersion, it can be defined as, dispersion, it can be defined as a pattern of distribution of individuals within population over an area. Dispersal, it is the movement of individuals or their dissemules into or out of the area. Dispersion means it can be defined as a pattern of distribution of individuals within population over an area. Emigration, it involves one way, that means outward movement of organisms from a population. Genets, the individual tree or plant produced by sexual reproduction and thus arising from a zygote, that's called genets. Immigration, it involves one-way inward movement of organisms from a population into an area which is useful for the survival and reproduction of the organism. Then migration, it is two-way periodic or seasonal departure and return of organisms from and to the population. Then modular organisms, the organisms which do not come as simple unit of individuals like grasses and perennial herbaceous plants. That is called modular organisms, kind of cluster like. The organisms which do not come as simple unit or individuals like grasses and perennials, herbaceous plants. Nomadism, it is defined as the random movement of individuals in search of food. Random movement of individuals in search of food and shelter without definitely returning to the place of origin. That is nomadism. It is defined as the random movement of individuals in search of food and shelter without definitely returning to the place of origin. So that's it. We will be learning about all these topics one by one. So let's start. A population may be defined as a collective group of organisms of the same species occupying a particular space at a particular time. The ultimate constituent of the population is individual. The individuals who can distinguished as single unit like dogs, cats, spiders, insects, fish, etc. is defined as unitary organism. But there are some organisms which do not come as simple unit of individuals called as modular organisms like grass. We learned that. Modular organisms, for example, many plants, grasses, and perennial herbaceous plants grow root extensions to form new roots or circles that may remain attached to root extensions or break off to live independently. So these are called modular organisms. Modular. Modular. These new individuals grow and cover a considerable large area but appear to be an individual. The individual tree or plant produced by sexual reproduction and thus arising from a zygote is a genetic individual or a genet. So modules produced asexually by the genet are ramets. Modules. So genet is produced by sexual reproduction, but that can produce asexual ones, asexual progeny. They are called ramets. Okay. The ramet either remains physically attached to its parent genet or they may separate and individually grows. These modules can produce. Ramets are nothing else but modules. Okay. Modules are individuals, I guess. Yeah, individual thing, like they are connected to a single root or something, but they are distributed in a vast area. Then genet is something which is produced by genetic reproduction or the sexual reproduction. So genet can produce asexually. Some modules are produced from genets by asexual means. These are called ramets. Ramets are modules. Ramets are modules. Okay. So these modules can produce seeds and their own lateral extensions or ramets. The population shows the group characteristics which cannot be applied to individuals. The basic characteristic of a population includes density, which can be influenced by natality, mortality, immigration, and emigration. In addition to these attributes, there are secondary characteristics of a population which include age distribution, pattern of distribution of individuals in space like dispersion and dispersal. Some of the characteristics of population is already discussed. Next are discussed here, like dispersal. Some organisms are not able to occupy their potential range due to their failure to reach that area because of several physical or biological factors which prevent the organism to disperse into the area. These organisms, when searched for a distance from their normal range, they survive and start reproducing, which may lead to form new species in response to changed environmental conditions. This dispersal is an ecological process which affects the distribution and genetic process of organisms in geographic differentiation. Dispersal is a key feature of all organisms that develop various mechanisms to allow their individuals or their reproductive products to move across the landscape and seascape. In plants, seeds and spores are dispersed by wind, water, or through active dispersal by animals. Heavier seeds such as acorns of oak trees, quercus, oak tree seeds, I guess, acorns, and code, yeah, disperse to shorter distance, whereas lighter seeds of maples, like acer, milkweed, asclepiadaceae, and dandelions, Taxaxacum of Sinale, are carried to longer distance by wind. Seeds of some plants, such as cherries and viburnum species, are carried by birds and mammals to disperse them by eating their fruits and carrying the seeds to distant place. These seeds pass through the animal's digestive tract and are deposited in their feces. Seeds of some other plants are equipped with spines and hooks which attached on the fur of mammals, the feathers of birds, and the clothing of humans. In animals, the dispersal of fertilized eggs, especially in aquatic environments, lead to movement of offspring to greater distances. In recent centuries, human becomes the most important agent who lead to the redistribution of species at a global scale. For mobile animals, dispersion is an active process, but sometimes also depends on a passive means of transport like wind and moving water. Wind carries younger ones of some species of spiders, gypsy moths larvae, and cysts of brine shrimp, Artemia salina. In streams, the larval forms of some invertebrates disperse downstream in the current to suitable habitats. In the oceans, the dispersal of many organisms is tied to the movement of currents and tides. Many factors like crowding, temperature change, shortage of food, quality of food, photoperiod, and increased breeding have been implicated in simultaneous dispersal in various animal species. In addition to natality and mortality, dispersal also play important role in shaping the population in their growth forms. Small changes in the population due to continuous entering or leaving of individuals or their reproductive parts do have significant effect on the population, but large changes always affect the population. Dispersal of individuals is affected by barriers as well as inherent powers of movement of individuals. Dispersal influences the process of colonization of individuals in the new areas and also establishing equilibrium diversity. It is an important element of gene flow that leads to the process of speciation. MacArthur and Wilson in 1967 has explained three types of dispersal in animals, like smaller organisms and propagules show an exponential form during the dispersion process as density decreases from the source at a constant amount of equal multiples of distance. Larger animals showed a normally distributed pattern. Uniform pattern is also known as set distance dispersal. Like honeybee tried to avoid food source near the hive as compared to food present at greater distances. Birds which move from one island to another island. In animal population, dispersal can be divided into the following different forms, like emigration. It is the outward movement of the organism in one direction from a given population. Immigration of individuals, excessive production of young ones, shortage of various resources, unfavorable environmental conditions. For example, in a bird population, when some birds move away from the original population to another place called as emigration, many individuals in human population leave their place for search of better job opportunities and other resources and do not return to their original place. That's immigration. Then immigration, it involves one-way inward movement of organisms from a population into an area which is useful for the survival and reproduction of the organisms. For example, the bird which moves away from the original population and enter into new population is called immigration. Indians generally move to USA for better job prospects and living conditions. This is the example where people are emigrating from India and immigrating to USA. Population 1, immigration. Okay, a simple representation. Migration, it is two-way periodic or seasonal movement of animals carried out often between breeding place and winter feeding grounds. Migrations are particularly seen in mammals, birds, fishes, and some insects. Migration of animals can be divided into 2 to 3 types, like zooplanktons in the ocean show daily migration. The crustacean like copepods and Cladocera undergo vertical migration due to changes in the light intensity. During daytime, light causes heating of surface water, which makes these animals to move deeper into water. And when temperature declines at the time of night, they come back again to the surface of water. Bats also move to feeding grounds at night and come back to their roosting places at dawn. So seasonal migration is observed in the earthworm, in which they undergo vertically down into soil to spend winter and again come back to surface of soil in the spring and summer. The Kashmir stag show vertical migration, where it comes to the valley during winter and ascends to the top of the mountainous region during the summer. The birds show excellent example of migration. They usually breed in cold part of their range. Thus, in the northern hemisphere, birds move north in spring and towards south in autumn. During summer, shallow Hirundo rustica present in England, Western Asia, Northwestern Africa. During winter, they migrate to Central and South Africa and India. Autumn, South. Siberian crane visit annually to India in the months of November and December, especially to Keoladeo National Park, Bharatpur. November and December. A migration also involves one return trip by the organisms. Fishes like salmon and eel take long journey, while other fishes take short journey. The eel, Anguilla vulgaris, moves from river to sea. Anadromous fish for reproduction. After laying eggs, the adult die. So the eel moves from river to sea. Eel always river to sea. And this condition is called anadromous fish. For reproduction, eel from river to sea, anadromous fish. After laying eggs, the adult die. The young one hatched from eggs start their journey from sea to river. Some species of Pacific salmon moves to freshwater rivers for breeding. The young grow and move downstream for open sea where they reach to sexual maturity. When they become sexually mature, they return to their home streams where they breed and then die. That is called catadromous fish. You can see salmons returning to streams for reproduction. Third type of migration is an unusual type of migration shown by monarch butterfly. The adult butterfly, when show migration, it never returned to their home grounds of north in summer from the wintering grounds of south. However, their offspring move back to their home grounds. Some leafhoppers as well as the milkweed bug show similar type of migration but less extensive than monarch butterfly. Then comes another term called nomadism. It is the random movement of individuals from one place to another in search of food and shelter without having definite returning to their original place. Some tribes of Rajasthan, India are nomads. Lohars, Gadia Lohars, the nomadic blacksmiths on carts, practicing architecture in Eragada, Uppal, and other areas in Hyderabad. The effect of dispersal on a population is dependent on its rate of dispersal and growth forms. A population balanced by limiting environmental factors is not affected by immigration and emigration because it is compensated by birth rate and death rate. When population is above or below the carrying capacity level, then it is affected. Immigration helps to increase the population growth, but during extreme reduction, it prevents the population from extinction. However, the mass dispersal can influence the population in other ways. When blue-gill fingerlings were introduced into a pond in which their population has already reached to carrying capacity, results in small average size and decreased growth in fish. In this situation, the overall biomass do not change, but the individual size becomes so reduced that fishes become very poor. The dispersal is frequent in motile animals, but dispersal in sessile organisms depends on other agencies, like dispersal of seeds of some plants, larvae of some insects, and spiders is facilitated by the wind. Running water acts as a carrier for the larval forms and other organisms to their suitable microhabitat. Dispersing stage, sedentary state. A wind-blown seeds of dandelions can disperse long distances. Taraxacum officinale. As can the waterborne larvae of barnacles. Juvenile spiders disperse by spinning a silken thread that catches the wind. Garden spider, Algiope. The process of dispersion in various organisms. Dispersion. It refers to the mode of distribution of organisms within a population. The individuals in a population are distributed in space and time. On the basis of distribution, it is called the spatial dispersion and temporal dispersion. Spatial dispersion can be divided into three types, like random distribution. In this type of distribution, the individuals are uniformly and randomly distributed in the area. It emphasizes that every individual has equal chances to occur at a place. This is a rare type of distribution as it occurs in the environment which is uniform and where resources are equally available throughout the year, or there is positive antagonism. So uniform distribution occur, uniform or random distribution. Random distribution occur when positive antagonism is there. Wait a minute, what is that? Positive antagonism. Positive antagonism. Random distribution do not show aggregation tendency. Clam of the intertidal mudflats of the northern eastern coast of North America and the spiders on the forest floor show random distribution. They don't form clusters. Random distribution. Random distribution. Then uniform distribution. This type of distribution implies even spacing of individuals. Even spacing. It occurs due to severe competition between the individuals of same species. The competition involves moisture requirement in desert bushes, severe competition for light among forest plants, competition for territory maintenance in carnivore birds, autotoxicity among plants of arid region also show uniform distribution. So these, and there is minimum chance of no clumping, but some sort of clumping happens in the case of random distribution. Do not show aggregation tendency. Uniform distribution, spacing of individuals due to severe competition between individuals of same species. The competition involves moisture requirement in desert bushes, severe competition for light among forest plants, competition for territory maintenance. So next one is uniform distribution, which is the result of extreme competition. Okay. So the moisture requirement in desert bushes, severe competition for light among forest plants, competition for territory maintenance in carnivore birds, autotoxicity among plants of arid region also show uniform distribution. Here we can see uniform distribution. Then uniform distribution, clumping distribution, clumping distribution. It is also known as clustered or aggregated distribution. It is the most common pattern of distribution in which individuals congregate in groups with some scattered individuals outside the group. The environment is never uniform due to differences in habitat, climatic conditions, social behavior, and reproductive pattern. As a result, population frequency produces attraction and avoidance and results in clumped distribution pattern. Clumped one. Clumped, here we can see elephants. In case of uniform distribution, they have shown this penguins. Random distribution, some plants. Human population show clumped distribution. Human. Due to their economic condition, geographic factors, and social behavior, the large aggregation of fern occurs due to vegetative propagation. Some birds eject a number of undigested seeds in their fecal matter. So they just English robin may eject 20 raspberry seeds in a pellet, which germinate in a cluster of seedling. The degree of aggregation and density that result in optimum population growth and survival varies with the species and conditions. Therefore, undercrowding, lack of aggregation, and overcrowding may be limiting to the population. This is Halley's principle. It's a very important one. So, population is there. Both undercrowding and overcrowding. These things are acting as limiting factors to this population, like increasing or decreasing, whatever it may be, but they influence the population size, population as a whole. That is called Halley's principle, Allee principle, related to what overcrowding and undercrowding. They determine or they act as limiting factors in case of population. Is that clear? So here we can see random distribution or dispersion, uniform dispersion. This is clumped one. Don't get confused. So that's it. Random, uniform, clumped. The individual and group have higher survival value and is an important characteristic. The individual in group have higher survival value and is an important characteristic. Allais observed that fishes who live in groups could survive better as compared to the isolated individuals when they were provided a particular dose of poison in the water. It is believed that the mucus as well as other secretions help in counteracting the poison, indicating the group action type of mechanism. A group of bees in a hive can generate and restrain enough heat which protect all the individuals of bees when the temperature is low enough to kill all of them if each were isolated. Allais concluded that these primitive cooperation begins the process of social organization and shows varying degrees of development. So he kind of sort of said like grouping of some kind is beneficial for that organism. Grouping of some kind is beneficial for organism. Okay. This will culminate in the group behavior of human beings. Aggregation of humans into cities and urban dwellings is beneficial up to a certain point. Since the optimum size of cities has not yet been objectively determined, the cities should reduce their population when the costs exceed their benefits. Ecologically, it is a mistake to maintain a city that is too large for its support. That's right. Here we can see Allais' principle shows growth and survival is high when population is small. Refuging is another special type of aggregation in which large socially organized group of animals disperse and return regularly to the place after satisfying their needs like food and material comforts. So human populations, especially in developing and underdeveloped countries, show refuging type of aggregation. Then temporal dispersion is associated to daily change in light and dark circadian cycle as in the activities of some nectar feeding insects and oceanic planktons. Temporal dispersion. It is related to tidal cycle, lunar and season cycles. For example, in marine animals, certain activities are regulated by intensity of tides and periods of moon. However, photoperiodism helps in regulating the activities of terrestrial animals. So that is temporal, like tidal or something related to that. Circadian cycle, photoperiod, aggregation. Okay. Now let's have a summary. In a population, the ultimate constituent is individual. The individuals either distinguished as single unitary organisms or a complex modular organism. The population also exhibits secondary characteristics which include dispersion and dispersal. Dispersal is the movement of individuals into or out of the population. Dispersal. That is something which is done by that organism. So don't get confused. Dispersal. Okay, dispersal is that the movement. It affects distribution and genetic process in geographic differentiation. Dispersal can be divided into immigration, which involves one outward movement of organisms. Immigration involves inward movement of individuals from a population into a given area. It is useful for the survival and reproduction of the organisms. And migration, which is two-way, periodic or seasonal departures and return of organisms to their original place. Nomadism is the random movement of individuals from one place to another in search of food and shelter without having definitely returning to their original place. The dispersal is common in motile animals, but in sessile animals it depends on wind, water, coats of animals and other agencies. Mode of distribution of organism. It is categorized as a random distribution where individuals are uniformly and unevenly distributed in the area. Random or uniform distribution implies even spacing of individuals between some species when competition is severe. Clumping distribution next. Clumping 1. Distribution is common pattern of distribution in which individuals congregate in groups with some scattered individuals outside the group. So some are scattered. Clumping is for united plus random. Some are random. Refuging is a type of aggregation in which a large socially organized group of animals disperse and return regularly to the place after satisfying their needs like food and material comforts. That is nomadism. Temporal dispersion is observed in some nectar-feeding insects and related to daily changes in light and dark, lunar cycles, seasons and tidal cycles. So that's it. Thank you for listening.